Hi guys, in this video we're gonna first introduce ourselves to the class extends feature for inheritance in JavaScript, and then we'll move on to a code that implements the same inheritance but without using class extends, but rather by using the prototype chaining. Let's go on to it. So in this code, we got a constructor called bank, and it has two properties: cash equals 1000, and steal is a function that logs a div store this.cash dollars. And then we create a class called div that, this is an important bit, extends bank. What's the consequence of that? It means when a new instance of div is created in the next line, it will inherit all the properties of bank, cash, and steal. So in the next line, line 10, we create a new instance of div, and from that instance we call steal. So what would be the expected outcome? It will console log or div store $1000, and it does. This is how a class-based inheritance works using the extends keyword. Now let's have a look at this code. It will try to do the same thing but without using the class or the extends. So this is inheritance using JavaScript. First of all, we got a superclass constructor called bank with one property called cash that equals 1000, and then we designate a subclass constructor called div that calls the bank constructor. This has an effect such that it will inherit all the properties of the superclass, in this case cash. So this.cash will be visible from an instance of div. What does this mean? Line 11 in English, using the call method, it means call bank with this set to div. So it's calling bank, but this has been replaced with div. So as I said before, the effect of that is div will inherit the cash property from bank when a new instance of div is created using the new keyword. And then we add this steal over here is a function that console logs a div store this.cash dollars. We're adding the steal function to the prototype of bank, so that when the div formally inherits from bank, you also inherit the steal function. So you can use the steal function from within an instance of div. So this just adds a function to the prototype of bank, and this is a really important part. To be able to use the steal method, we have to link the prototype of div to the prototype of bank. Just ignore this one for now. You can do it by the line 20. So you're assigning bank the prototype to the div the prototype. This formally links these two in such a way that you can say div extends bank. Okay, our explain this broken code in line 22 soon, but for now let's just move on. So as we have premeditated before, we are creating a new instance of div, and from that instance we call steal method. So it will output the same thing as the other code. So let's go look. Yes, it says a thief stole $1,000. So it does the same thing as class-based approach. So let's start with prototype. The important thing is, at first I had an incomplete understanding of the prototype chaining, so I thought that level 22 would work, because I thought when you're trying to invoke steal from a new instance of thief, you will go up the prototype chain. So from this level you will go up another level and then another level, and in the thief.prototype you will find the linked function called steal. It will go up the prototype chain until it finds it. But that's not strictly the case, because this is what to remember. Thief.prototype is a prototype object, but thief.prototype.proto is a object, generic object, and thief.prototype.prototype is a null, because generic object has no prototype property. So this is illegal. Let's just break it. It's already broken by the line 22. Let's see the error message. It says object cannot have the prototype set. So that's why it doesn't work. If the prototype returns a prototype object, prototype object's prototype is the object, and one level up, prototype of the object is null, I think, something like that. So that's what you need to remember. So let's unbreak it. But another point is this would work, because if the prototype is a prototype object, if the prototype is the generic object, and the generic object still has the prototype property that can be set. So this level works, but not line 22. But that's just for demonstration purposes. Let's stick with line 20. Let's run it again. It works. Well, let's just confirm it for you. Line 21 still works. Okay, it does. That's been taken care of. So let's just yes, yeah, line 11. This might be, what have I gone through this? Yeah, I'll just go through it again. So inside the thief constructor, which is a subclass in this case, and superclass is the bank, where bank.call this means call the bank constructor with this set to thief. So the line 11 means you will inherit the property cache, which is accessible when you make an instance of thief. And line 15 is you're just adding a new method, adding a new function called steal to the bank's prototype, so that when you link the prototypes of thief and bank together, this steal function becomes accessible from a new instance of thief. So just adding a new functionality that you, in 25 you can call. So the steal function was inherited from bank by way of its prototype chain. So you can call the steal method steal function from the new instance of thief. I guess that's clear now. Okay, this is a code that tries to break things so you get the idea of the correct usage. So let's go through it in steps. This is a constructor called useMe with two properties. Data equals 1000. Get data is a function that just console logs this.data. You create a new instance of useMe and then call get data. You would just output 1000, right? Let's just run it. 1000 over here, right? And there's another one, but this time it's a class using the class keyword, and the same thing, data and get data. And if you create a new instance of class useMe2 and invoke or call get data, this time the data equals 2000, not 1000, and that's what happened here. But let's try to break it. Let's break this one first. If you do not create a new instance and just try to call get data directly, this shouldn't work, because useMe is, well, useMe is not a static class. It's a constructor, so it only works when you create a new instance of it using the new keyword. So let's just look, have a inspection of the error message. It says type error, cannot read the property get data of undefined. So it's saying the useMe is undefined. That makes sense, because there's no instance of it that is created. Let's comment that out and break it this way. What if you do useMe.getData? That wouldn't work as well, because when you do useMe and then the parentheses, it will actually execute this function. But if you just do useMe.getData, this doesn't make sense, because useMe just outputs the function's content as a string. So this doesn't make sense. Let's look at the error message. It says useMe.getData is not a function. Well, it doesn't register the getData function, because, as I said, useMe is just a string representation of this function useMe. So that makes sense. What about the class keyword? This one works, line 19. Let's break it. Same thing. Let's look at the error message. It says class constructor useMe2 cannot be invoked without new. So it's very explicit in its error message. Because it's a class, you need to create an instance of it through its constructor and using the new keyword. So this simply doesn't work. What about this one? Says useMe2.getData is not a function. Same error message as line 10. Well, with the same reason. useMe2 is just a string representation of this class. So let's just confirm that. I might be wrong. let's try to, well, let's check this has no errors. It doesn't. Let's console log use me too. What does it do? Yep, it just outputs the class definition in its string form. So now it makes sense, right? The line 21 use me to dot get data is trying to run get data from a string representation. It's a string. Strings are primitive values. They can't have methods assigned to them or functions assigned to them. So that's why. So let's try to do use me as well. Same thing, it's just string. Well, it's not a string. Oops. Sorry. Gotta get rid of this one. Try again. It's a string. Strings are primitive values. They don't have functions assigned to them. So that's why it doesn't work. So it's pretty clear, right? So let's just revise what we have learned. The object of this video is to demonstrate that you can do something like a class-based extends form of inheritance in JavaScript without using the class or the extends keyword. You can actually set it up just using code like this, using the prototype chain and linking them together. That actually satisfies the condition that diff extends bank and inherits steal method. So here line 20 is crucial, as well as line 11. Let's break it. I forgot to break this code. Let's break line 11 first. Let's get rid of it and run it. It says a thief stole undefined dollars. Why is it undefined? Because you haven't called the bank constructor yet, so this cache has no value, right? Makes sense, right? Okay. And if you get rid of this line 20, says steal t.steal is not a function. It makes sense because thief and bank's prototype are linked together yet. So the new instance of thief has no knowledge of the steal method residing in the prototype of bank. So that's how it's broken. Is that all? I can't think of anything else at the moment. So let's just go here. Okay. So this is a constructor called use me with two properties, data and the get data function. And the correct way of using it is line 8. Run it. Oops. Get rid of this. 1000. In the class, same approach, same code is used to get data. This time 2000. Yeah, if I get to remember anything else to cover, maybe I'll make a new video. But for now, this is how you implement the class inheritance using the prototype chain. Thank you very much, and see you next time.